Hello, and welcome to Fall Risks and Reductions. My name is Kellyanne Totten. I'm a health educator with Concord Regional Visiting Nurse Association. Our goals for today's presentation are to review the definition of a fall, identify at least 2 personal risk factors for falls, and to describe at least one way we can prevent a fall from happening. So what is a fall? A fall is defined as an unintentional loss of balance causing us to make an unexpected contact with the ground or floor. I'm certain that's a definition we can all identify with. A fall can be a fall no matter the distance between ourselves and the ground. A fall can be an intercepted fall, where someone might assist us while we fall back to the couch or to our seat. And a fall can be one without injury. So what do we know about falls? We know that more than 1 out of 4 older people fall each year, but less than half tell their doctor. Falling one time doubles your chance of falling again. And we know that falls are typically multifactorial, which means the risk of falling increases with the number of different risk factors that are present. The good news is we also know there are things we can do to prevent a fall from occurring. So when we talk about risk factors for falls, there are 4 categories: physical, environmental, behavioral, and the fear of falling itself. So let's talk a little bit more about each risk factor. The first thing that we can do with regards to physical risk factors is to think about ways to make exercise or physical activity a priority in our life. So for me, for instance, I know that I don't like to get up extra early in the morning. So an exercise plan where I were to get up extra early to walk every day would not be realistic. So think about ways that you can plan your exercise throughout the day or your physical activity in a way that works for your schedule, but also works for the things that you like. Have your medication list reviewed. You can do this with your provider at a healthcare appointment. You could do this with a pharmacist, or if you have home health, this is something you could do with your nurse. It's important to have your medications reviewed because sometimes there may be a specific medication that could put you at risk for falls. However, also, sometimes 2 medications or more could interact with one another in a way that could put us at a greater risk for falling. So it's important to have that information and be aware. We want to limit alcohol use, monitor our blood pressure, get a vision checkup, and choose safe footwear. So we want to make sure that we have footwear that has good traction. We also want to make sure that it is secure to our foot. So choices like flip-flops or slippers that we just slide into are not ideal for preventing a fall. Those can actually be associated with causing falls at times when our feet unexpectedly slip out of them. Environmental changes. We want to remove or avoid safety hazards. So take a careful look around the different rooms in your home. Do you have bundles of computer cords or cable cords that could easily be tripped on? Does your pet happen to leave toys throughout the different rooms in your home? What you want to do is control what you can. And then when we talk a bit more about behaviors, that might help us plan for those toys along your path that your dog or your cat may leave. Improve the lighting in your home. So make sure that your stairways are well lit, that you might have some night lighting for things like your bathroom or for the hallway. Installing handrails and grab bars are a really important preventative step that we can take to prevent falls in our bathrooms and in that environment. We want to make sure that when we step out of our shower, we're not grabbing or relying on a towel rack for our balance. Those are not installed in the same way as a grab bar and could be a false reliance. So it's important to really take a look around our restroom and make changes. We want to make sure that the floors are wiped up as soon as they are wet. Then move items to make them easier to reach. So think about items you use every day and ask yourself, am I overreaching my center of balance to get this pot that I happen to use almost every day? And if you do, then move that pot to a location that's easier. Think about even items that are on lower shelves in your refrigerator. Sometimes it can be helpful to put those items in a small bin so you can slide it out and more easily grab what you need and then slide the bin back in. Those can be really helpful steps to lessen the number of times that we're overreaching our center of gravity. Adapting our behaviors. This perhaps can be one of the most challenging steps to preventing falls, and it really is up to us. So we want to think about some behaviors that we might need to take to either make changes to our environment, make changes to our physical activity, or there may be behaviors specific to fall risk, such as rushing to answer the door whenever we hear a knock or a doorbell, rushing to answer the phone if we don't happen to have the phone right with us. Another behavior that we can work on to change would be that when we're jumping up and about to rush across the room is really being mindful and looking ahead at the pathway. And that's where we can notice, as I mentioned earlier, some of those pet toys that may have snuck into our path. Or perhaps the cat came to snuggle up underneath the ottoman, and when you quickly jump up out of your chair, you might notice if we slowed down a bit that the cat was right there under our feet. We can also prioritize the behaviors that we want to make changes to. And the ways that we can prioritize those behaviors would be first to look at what are those behaviors that are very dangerous. Those might be things like utilizing a ladder to clean out gutters or standing on an unsafe stool to change a light bulb. Those are behaviors we want to address right away and eliminate. Next, you want to think about what are behaviors that are occurring frequently. Because if we can reduce the number of times we're making those behaviors, then we're reducing the number of chances we have for a fall to take place. So think about jumping up every time the phone rings to rush and go answer the phone. We could adapt that behavior by changing the number of rings until it goes to voicemail. We could make sure that we have a phone that we could carry in our pocket. Then we want to think about what are some behaviors that are easy to change. And for each of us, easy might be something really different. So think about the slippers that you're wearing, or think about flip-flops. Are those something that you could easily get rid of and have a safer shoe that you're wearing on a daily basis? All things to consider. And you want to really think about what works for you. It may be helpful to list out what are those barriers that you're listening to in your gut that are keeping you from making those changes to your behaviors. And then come up with a plan to help change those barriers and work around them to still meet that goal. The next area is fear of falling. Fear of falling can, in and of itself, become a self-fulfilling prophecy. We find that as people have the fear of falling, it may start to keep them from doing the things that they enjoy, like going out to lunch with friends, volunteering at a place that they enjoy volunteering with. So one step you can take is to ask for help. You can certainly call Concord Regional VNA and ask about our fall prevention programming or services. You could talk to friends or peers about the fear of falling. We can reconstruct our thoughts. Sometimes we have that instinct that kicks in that might be like a yellow warning light at a traffic signal. Sometimes we might have a red light that's more like a stop sign, keeping us from doing the things that we like to do. It can be helpful to pause and reconstruct your thoughts around that behavior and around that fear. Think about, is it realistic that this activity will cause a fall? A scenario that we could just talk through a little bit around reconstructing our thoughts might be going out to the grocery store. So we want to reconstruct those thoughts to say, I've been to the grocery store hundreds of times before, and I've always been safe. I'm sure that if I take my time, use a cart to help with my balance, and walk slowly, I'll be okay. That's just one quick example of a way to reconstruct your thoughts and use positive self-talk to safely complete activities. It's also helpful to use that yellow light and that red light feeling to make a safe plan for how you can complete an activity that you enjoy, but with safety in mind, and make some modifications to do so. And in doing that, we're really challenging the fear of falling. And by doing that, we're enjoying the things that we like to do, which really helps us in the end prevent falls from occurring. So in New Hampshire, doing some extra things to prevent winter falls is important. We want to be mindful of the shoes we are wearing outdoors. We want to have shoes with good traction and good soles. We want to dress warmly. Be careful and mindful when getting out of your vehicle. Take a look before putting your foot down and depending on it to see if there's black ice. Avoid taking shortcuts in areas that have not been maintained well. Take extra time, be mindful and aware of your surroundings. And keep your driveway and walkways clear. Also, make changes so that it's easy to make the right decision. Perhaps keep rock salt inside your home so that you can sprinkle it ahead of you as you're walking. If you know that it was a bit icy and there's black ice in the morning, wait a couple hours before bringing your mail out to the mailbox if you can. We can all take steps to prevent falls from happening, and the winter is no different. So at Concord Regional VNA, we've been providing a program to the communities that we serve called A Matter of Balance. This is an 8-session class that includes physical activity and exercise that really focuses on improving our balance, our strength, and our endurance. But it also goes further into helping that discussion around how we can reduce our risk of falling in our environment and by making changes to our behaviors. It's really important to recognize that falls are not a normal part of aging. There are things that we can all do to help control our fear of falling, and there are things we can all do to make changes to our environments and to reduce fall risk. This class also helps teach us that by being physically active, we can see differences in our strength and in our balance at any age. If you're interested in A Matter of Balance, you can visit our website at www.crvna.org, or you can call 224-4093, extension 5815. I want to thank you for joining me for this brief introduction to preventing falls. Again, for more information, please visit our website or give our agency a call. Thank you and have a great day.